Next up, we're going to cover three operators that might be a little bit lesser known. They're not as commonly used outside of programming. The first one, we'll start with this one in the middle. 2 stars, 2 asterisks is for exponentiation. It's how we raise one number to another power. So I could take, 4, and I could cube it using 2 stars. This would be 4 times 4 times 4, which I could write out this way if I wanted to. And that's not too bad, but if I was raising it to the, 8th or 9th power, well, that's multiplication. 2 stars. There we go. That's a lot shorter than doing 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 9 times. This is also an example of something where spacing really does matter. So I can do this with a bunch of spaces, and Python doesn't care. It can figure out what I'm doing. It can figure out the left and the right. But if I instead just have a single space or more separating those 2 stars, Python doesn't know what to think of that. It sees we've got multiplication. What it thinks is multiplication, a single asterisk. We're multiplying 4 on the left times another star on the right, and it gives me a syntax error, not valid. So these operators are space sensitive, unlike some of the other pieces we've seen. Next up, we have integer division, which honestly is maybe the least important of the ones I'm going to show you. It is 2 forward slashes, so another example of where a space matters or would break things. Python needs to see the 2 forward slashes together to know we're talking about integer division. So let's first do some regular division. 10 divided by 3. That's going to give me 3.3 repeating. But if I instead do 2 forward slashes, not just one, it only gives me 3. It rounds down. So if I do 5 divided by 2, we get 2.5, but with 2 slashes, we get 2. And it doesn't matter if it's something like, let's go the other way around. 4 divided by 5, 0.8. Now if I do 2 slashes, you might think it's going to round it. It's not rounding it up to 1. Even if it's almost 1, it rounds down. Now what's a little bit confusing is how this behaves with negative numbers. It always rounds down, which would be, in the case of a negative number, further away from 0. So if I did 10 and 3, we get 3. But as soon as I introduce a negative number in here, it actually goes to negative 4. So with regular division, it would be negative 3.3 repeating, but it rounds it down away from 0, more negative, giving us negative 4. So a little bit quirky, hard to remember that, but honestly, not something that comes up too much, but good to know. It's another operator. And then finally, we get to the percent sign, the modulus operator, also known as the remainder operator. So what happens here is that the right side will be divided into the left side as many times as possible, and then we will get the remainder as our result. So 38 modulo 10. How many times does 10 go into 38? 3. And then what's the remainder? Well, that would be 30, and the remainder would be 8. And that's the answer, 8. So let's try an example here. Let's do a simple one. How about 7? So 10 modulo 7. How many times does 7 go into 10? Just 1. What's the remainder? 3. How about 25 modulo 9? Sure. How many times does 9 go into 25 as a whole number? So that would be, what, 3 times? No, 2 times. That would be 18. And then that gives us a remainder of 7. And it works with large numbers too, just to be clear. If I do 700 modulo, how about 200? How many times does 200 go into 700? Well, it's going to go in cleanly 3 times, giving us 600 with a remainder of 100. So this is commonly used to determine if a number is even or odd. So if we have some number, let's suppose you can't see what number I'm typing here. Just pretend it's hidden. If I mod by the number 2, if the answer I get back is 0, I know it's an even number, meaning 2 goes cleanly in to this number. If the number I get back is a 1, for example, right here, I know it's an odd number. So yeah, we can plainly see that's odd and that's even, but we're shortly, very shortly, going to see variables. We will be working with input where we don't know what a number is, what a user entered, or how many, dollars we have in a bank account. But if we wanted to know if it was even or odd, we can modulo by 2. Divide by 2 and it's a remainder 0, it's even. Is the remainder 1? It's odd. So those are 3 other integer operators that we now have in our arsenal, in addition to plus, minus, multiplication, and division. Get a little group of them going. Next up, we're going to talk about variables.